Today we will be speaking to Melissa Polo, who's running for group number 24 for circuit court judge in Hillsborough County. Welcome, Melissa, and great to have you on our show.
Thank you, Nina. It's great to be here.
Okay, so why don't we first start off with letting the viewers know a little bit about yourself. Just tell them a little bit about you and why you're interested in running for judge.
Again, I'm Melissa Polo, and I'm running for circuit court judge, group 24. These are county-wide, nonpartisan races. We'll be on the ballot on August 30th, 2016. This circuit court position is an open seat that's being vacated by a judge who will be retiring, William Fuente. I am a third-generation native, and I've been practicing law for 20 years, and when this open seat came available, I felt like it was the right time for me to basically serve my community. I'm passionate about the law, and I'm passionate about the community that not only I reside in, but that's my home.
So tell us a little bit about your involvement in the community in Hillsborough or the Tampa Bay area. What types of things have you been able to do to just participate?
My involvement in the community began when I was a teenager in high school, and I would volunteer teaching or tutoring kids in the inner city at Cornerstone Ministries. I also am involved in my church, Sacred Heart Catholic Church, where I've been a lifetime member. I help my father, who works through the St. Vincent de Paul Society. I sit on the board of my high school, Tampa Preparatory School. I sit on the Sheriff's Advisory Council, the Hispanic Advisory Council. I have done a variety. I've also sat on the auxiliary board for the Spring, which, as you may know, serves women who have been victims of domestic violence. And various other, anytime somebody asks me to get involved in the community, I will be more than happy to do it.
So being involved in the community, you've had a chance to meet many people, obviously, who are in the community, and those types of people may have an opportunity to come into your courtroom, whether or not you're doing civil or criminal cases. How do you tell the viewers what type of judge will you be when an individual comes in your courtroom and they're nervous or they're anxious and they're just not sure what to do?
Well, whether I know a particular individual that is presented before me, whether they sit on a jury or whether they're a litigant, the idea of a judge, and which is why it's important that they do get out into the community and that they're involved in the community. We work with many different disciplines within the court system, and when you have a jury who maybe has never been inside the courtroom before and is not sure about how to navigate the system, and that includes litigants, you want them to feel as comfortable as possible with the process. And so being familiar with all the court personnel and the goings-on of the courtroom, which I feel I do have that experience, being starting out my career as a prosecutor and then moving into the civil side. I have worked on both sides of civil and criminal, and I basically have worked throughout all areas that circuit court judges preside over.
Well, how would you treat a pro se litigant? Obviously, you may be in front of defense counsel, plaintiff counsel in the criminal court system, the state attorney, the defense counsel, and sometimes you have individuals who do not have an attorney and they come in. How would you treat a pro se litigant?
Throughout my career, mostly as a prosecutor, I recall having cases involving pro se litigants, and it might take a little bit more patience and to explain the process maybe a little more thoroughly. Basically, it just takes a little more patience.
So let's talk about judicial demeanor, judicial knowledge, and those types of things. We have a survey in Florida U Judge where we have an opportunity to send a survey out to attorneys where they can rate the judges on their demeanor, on the type of knowledge, either of the case, knowledge of the law, that type of thing. What do you think about having a judicial survey?
I think it's a wonderful idea. I say this every election cycle. I get calls from friends and family who want to know about the judicial candidates that are on the ballot, because It's very hard for the general population to get to know judicial candidates based on the fact that we have judicial canons that govern our behavior, and they're not the same rules that apply to other elected officials. And I feel that they are sometimes more important than maybe some other elected officials who don't necessarily impact your community on a daily basis, such as circuit court judges have the capacity to do. And so I think judicial surveys that get as much knowledge out to the voter about these judicial positions and the candidates that are involved in those positions is an excellent idea.
As a judicial candidate and potentially you could be a judge, what type of demeanor will you have in the courtroom when individuals come in and are looking to you to rule on their case?
You have to be a good listener. You have to be able to not just listen to the litigants who are in front of you, but what else is going on basically in your surroundings. There are court personnel there. You need to be cognizant of their roles within the justice system and the part that they play. And basically you treat everybody courteously, fairly, and you do your best to listen and to rule fairly.
Good. Tell us a little bit about your strengths and weaknesses, and how do you feel your strengths will help you as a judge, and how do you feel you could improve on weaknesses that you see that you may have?
I would say my strengths as a judge would be growing up here in Hillsborough County, since I have been around this courthouse since I was a teenager, first starting out as a clerk and then moving on to be an intern, and then on to my career once I passed the bar exam. I've forged many relationships within the court system, from the clerk's office to the public defender's office to the state attorney's office to those involved in the juvenile department and so forth and so on. And I feel that those basically are my strengths, and that the fact that I have practiced throughout all areas that circuit court judges preside over. My weaknesses would be, I'm a human being just like everybody else, and we don't always make maybe the right decision on every single occasion. And if I happen to make a decision that's incorrect, then I learn from that and I take that into the next case and have a little bit more knowledge.
Do you have a role model, whether it be in the community or maybe a judge that you look up to look to for guidance, or to see how this particular individual has conducted themselves in the courtroom?
I would say that, well, first of all, the position that I am running for is being vacated by a judge, William Fuente, who is probably in my eyes, one of the best judges that Hillsborough County has ever had. Mm-hmm. He's very bright. He is studious about the law. He's courteous. He's respectful to all of the everyone who's presented in front of him, whether right now he's on the criminal bench, whether they were defendants or victims or prosecutors or defense attorneys. He is definitely a personality to emulate as far as judicial temperament and basically just what makes up a good judge. Also, I've been blessed enough throughout my career to be in front of who I feel are very good judges who have taught me things along the way. And I would say the single most judge that I would hope to emulate would be Susan Bucklew, who is now a federal court judge. And I recall sitting in her courtroom when I was a clerk, and she was the first female county court judge in Hillsborough County, and then became a circuit court judge, and then moved on to the federal bench. And I learned a lot by sitting in her courtroom and watching her conduct jury trials.
Thank you very much. In the last few minutes that we have, tell the viewers why they should vote for you, group number 24.
Thank you, Nina. I really do appreciate the opportunity to come before the voters to give them a little bit more background about my qualifications for circuit court judge in Group 24. I do feel that I have the most experience in this particular race. Circuit court judges have the capacity to touch the lives of ordinary people on a daily basis. They make decisions that impact individuals' lives, from making a ruling on whether to terminate a parent's rights, to child custody issues, to ruling on death penalty cases. And the more knowledge that voters have, the better off they are in making informed decisions when they get to the polls on August 30th. If anyone, after visiting the UJudge site, has any questions about my qualifications or want to know a little bit more about my background and training and experience, they can visit melissapoloforjudge.com, and I also have a phone number there, and they're welcome to call me if they have any additional questions. Thank you for this opportunity.